Now, Combs is threatening legal action against the streamer for airing the unauthorized footage. Behind the series is Combs' longtime rap rival.
We have to find somebody that'll work with us that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business. We're losing.
Diddy, Sean Combs.
The world wasn't ready for what just happened. It thought it was, but it wasn't. Because on December the 2nd, Netflix released something so explosive, so forbidden, so violently unexpected, that the moment it hit the screen, everything people believed about the Diddy case collapsed in seconds. No teaser warned about it. No leak prepared anyone for it. No critic predicted the impact. Yet the moment the documentary dropped, the entire conversation around one of the most controversial figures in modern entertainment twisted in a direction nobody saw coming. And it all started with a single clip. A clip that was never filed, never shown, never reviewed, never discussed in court. A clip that somehow bypassed federal discovery and was buried, erased, vanished from every official record. Until Netflix brought it back to life and projected it into living rooms around the world. Netflix found it, Netflix verified it, and Netflix released it. But here's the disturbing part: not one judge ever saw it. Not one prosecutor ever handled it. Not one attorney ever prepared a defense against it. And Diddy himself had no idea this footage was still out there. That's why the silence hits different this time. It's not the normal celebrity scandal noise. It's heavier, colder. Publicists are pulling their clients from interviews minutes before they go live. Journalists who once happily commented on every Diddy headline are suddenly unavailable. Music executives who built careers standing next to him are quietly cleaning up deleting photos, trimming old posts, rewriting history one click at a time. Even influencers, the loudest voices on the internet, have gone vague. No jokes, no hot takes, just cryptic messages and "we'll talk about this later" captions. Everyone feels it. Everyone senses it. Everyone knows this isn't just another documentary, because when a streaming giant releases a piece of footage the courtroom never reviewed, it means someone hid it. Someone powerful, someone connected, someone who was never planning for this moment to exist. But it exists now, and there's no way to put it back in the dark. The moment the clip hit the screen, social media didn't just react, it erupted. Timelines flooded with blurry recordings of TVs, people rewinding, replaying, slowing down frames. Twitter turned into a live courtroom. Reddit turned into a war zone of theories. YouTube lives went on instantly, with creators freezing the image, zooming into faces, matching outfits and dates, trying to figure out when this moment happened and why no one ever mentioned it before. Within hours, people stopped asking, "What is this clip?" and started asking something much more dangerous. How did the justice system miss this? Inside the industry, that question is echoing through offices and back rooms. Executives whisper in hallways with locked doors. Lawyers are holding emergency meetings. Former associates are saying as little as possible. Their answers getting shorter every time Diddy's name comes up. This doesn't feel like a trending topic. It feels like a threat. And the timing makes it worse. Diddy is incarcerated. Appeals are hanging over the future like a storm cloud. Headlines about his past keep resurfacing every few weeks. And right in the middle of all of that, Netflix drops one more thing the court never saw. That's not bad luck. That's a calculated hit. Inside MDC Brooklyn, news travels slower, but it still gets there. Diddy hears about it in fragments. A guard muttering to another near the tier. A headline flashed briefly on a TV bolted high to a wall. A folded article passed from one inmate to another. The same phrase keeps coming back to him like an echo. They showed something the court never saw. Imagine what that does to somebody in his position, sitting behind concrete and steel, knowing that the most dangerous attack on your image didn't come from a witness on the stand, but from a piece of footage you didn't even know survived. A clip your lawyers never prepared for. A clip no judge ever ruled on. A clip now burned into the minds of millions of people who will never sit on any jury, but will still pass judgment. Because this damage isn't legal, not yet. This damage is psychological, it's social, it's cultural, it's the kind of damage that rewrites how people say your name. The clip itself isn't long, It doesn't need to be. It's not violent. It's not edited with dramatic sound effects or flashy graphics. It's quiet, almost casual, and that's exactly what makes it so devastating. It doesn't scream smoking gun. It does something worse. It quietly changes the context of everything people thought they understood. Context is more dangerous than shock. Context doesn't go away. Context lingers in the back of people's minds every time they see your face. The way Netflix placed the clip inside the documentary makes it even more unnerving. There's no countdown, no dramatic, never-before-seen footage banner. It's dropped in like a memory that accidentally slipped through, as if the documentary is saying, "This was always here, you were just never allowed to see it." And sitting at home, people felt that. They rewound, they paused, they stared. And then they realized what they were looking at, not just the clip itself, but the gap around it, the empty space where the justice system should have been. Before we go any deeper, I want to ask you something directly. Now that millions of people have seen this clip, do you think it's right that the courtroom never did? Should footage like this stay buried in sealed files, or should the world see what the system left out? Tell me in the comments below. I want to know which side you're on in this. And if you want to stay ahead of every twist in this story, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss what comes next, because the deeper we go into this, the darker it gets. Now let's get back to the story. Behind the scenes, insiders are calling the atmosphere frantic. People who were comfortable being close to Diddy's world during his peak are suddenly pulling back. Not loudly, quietly, canceled appearances, ignored invitations, unreturned calls. They aren't just worried about being mentioned. They're worried about association, about the public scrolling back through old photos, old interviews, old events, and asking a simple, scary question. What did you know? And when did you know it? Legal commentators who usually speak with full confidence are suddenly choosing every word like it's being recorded in stone. Because they understand what most viewers are just starting to realize: if Netflix has managed to surface one piece of evidence the system never used, there is a real possibility that this documentary is just the beginning of a much bigger unraveling. This isn't being treated like a show anymore. It's being treated like a file, not a piece of content, a piece of proof. And the moment that shift happens from entertainment to evidence, everything changes. The way the public talks, the way the press writes, the way the industry protects itself, the way the people closest to the story decide whether they stay silent or finally start talking. The world didn't just watch Netflix expose an unseen clip, it watched the curtain move. And now millions of people are staring past the frame, asking the question no one in power ever wanted them to ask. If this was hidden, what else is still buried? And that question, that doubt, is only the beginning. The days following the Netflix release don't feel real. They feel unnervingly quiet, like the world is walking around holding its breath, trying to understand what it just saw. The air online is different now, heavier, sharper, charged with a kind of fear that people don't admit openly, but can't hide either. That single clip didn't just drop into a documentary. It ripped open a sealed vault, exposing something no courtroom ever touched. And the frightening part is how easily it slipped past the justice system. Everyone is analyzing it. Everyone is replaying it. Everyone is convinced there's more. You can see it in the way people freeze the frame exactly at the moment the camera angle shifts. You can see it in screenshots blown up until they pixelate. People are searching for shadows, reflections, background figures, anything that helps answer the question the courtroom never asked. The internet has become a forensic lab, but not because the footage is unclear. It's because it's too clear enough to make people wonder who wanted it buried. That question won't go away. And the longer it lingers, the more dangerous it feels. Was it removed intentionally? Did someone intervene? Was it lost or hidden? No one with a legal background is willing to explain. Not one attorney has stepped forward to address the gap. Not one prosecutor has clarified how this clip missed federal review. And that silence? That's the type of silence that makes people feel like they've stepped into something bigger than a documentary, something colder, older, and far more calculated. Hollywood insiders say the energy around this documentary is unlike anything they've experienced. Not during the biggest scandals, not during the most public controversies. This isn't shock, it's dread. because the implication behind the footage is worse than the footage itself. It hints at structure, at strategy, at coordinated silence stretching back decades. Executives who once spoke proudly about their connection to Diddy are making frantic calls. They're reviewing contracts, rechecking old NDAs, asking lawyers questions they never imagined asking. The tone in those private rooms isn't confusion, it's panic disguised as professionalism. The documentary didn't just raise questions, it reopened a door the industry spent years trying to weld shut. And Netflix didn't kick it open loudly. They slid it open quietly, and the quiet is what hurts. The way the clip was placed inside the film is unsettling. No dramatic warning, no bold banner saying never before seen footage. It just appears like a memory accidentally left in. But nothing about this was accidental. Netflix edited this documentary with surgical precision. Every cut feels intentional. Every silence feels staged. Every transition feels like a message. This wasn't storytelling. This was an operation. Across social media, the theories are multiplying. Some swear the clip came from a sealed law enforcement archive. Others are convinced it was kept by someone inside Diddy's circle, someone who knew when the perfect moment would come. Others believe it belonged to a private investigator whose tapes were lost in a sea of forgotten files. But all the theories share one conclusion. The footage didn't resurface. It was released. Someone wanted it seen, and someone else wanted it gone. Inside the production, the secrecy was suffocating. Editors worked in isolation. Hard drives were encrypted and physically locked away. The footage was never uploaded online, not even once. No external contractors, no interns, no open screenings. The editing rooms were described as cold and surgical, as if everyone inside knew they were handling something radioactive. And now the radiation is spreading. Public figures connected to Diddy are reacting exactly how you'd expect people to react when they know something worse might be coming. They disappear for days. They resurface with irrelevant posts, nature photos, coffee cups, inspirational quotes, anything to distract the algorithm from digging into their past. This isn't coincidence. This is fear wearing a polite mask. Some people who built their entire careers next to Diddy's empire have started distancing themselves. They're unfollowing connections, deleting photos, switching their comments to friends only. Their silence isn't random. Silence in Hollywood is strategy, and right now the strategy is survival. Because when the world suddenly sees something the justice system never reviewed, people connected to that world start asking themselves the most terrifying question possible. What else might come out? Legal experts aren't offering confident commentary anymore. Their tone is soft, careful, almost nervous. They choose every word like it's evidence. They pause before speaking. They correct themselves mid-sentence. Even the most arrogant commentators, the ones who always know everything, have gone quiet. They know what's really at stake. It's not the clip itself. It's the possibility that the clip is only one of many. The documentary's structure doesn't let viewers rest. Just when the audience thinks they fully process the footage, the film shifts direction. It moves into timelines, testimonies, and moments from the early 2000s that suddenly feel different in the shadow of the clip. The documentary doesn't slam you with truth. It sneaks truth into your bloodstream until you realize you're already poisoned. And the online world feels it. Fans are fighting, critics are speculating, former collaborators are dodging questions. Diddy supporters are trying to defend him, but their voices feel smaller this time, overshadowed by the intensity of what Netflix dropped. And in all this chaos, one question keeps hitting harder every time. How did the court miss this? The truth? We don't know, but someone does. And whoever that someone is, they're sweating right now. The more people watch the documentary, the more they start connecting old dots the industry hoped would stay far apart. Interviews from 1999, headlines from 2004, nightclub stories from 2008. Old rumors that people used to laugh at suddenly don't feel so funny anymore. Everything is being reinterpreted through the lens of the clip, every smile, every statement, every timeline. The documentary didn't expose a secret, it exposed a pattern. The deeper you follow the fallout of the hidden Netflix clip, the darker the trail becomes. Because behind all the noise, all the reactions, all the panic spreading through timelines and private group chats, something else is happening, something quieter, something colder, something far more calculated. People aren't just reacting to the clip anymore. They're reacting to the idea that someone let this happen, that someone waited watching, holding on to this footage until the exact moment it could explode the entire conversation. The question the world keeps circling back to isn't, what's in the clip? It's who wanted this out now? And once you start asking that question, every shadow in this story suddenly looks suspicious. Some say it was a former insider, someone who knew the walls around Diddy's empire were cracking and wanted to be on the right side of history. Others believe it was someone from deep inside the industry, someone with old grudges, buried resentment, and access to archives nobody was supposed to see. But the theory gaining the most momentum is the one people whisper about behind closed doors. This footage didn't leak. It was released strategically, by someone with influence and a purpose. Because think about the timing. The documentary didn't drop in a quiet moment. It dropped when Diddy was already behind concrete and steel, when his legal battles were already unstable, when headlines were circling like vultures over an empire collapsing under its own weight. The clip didn't just reveal something, it arrived like a final strike at the exact moment he was weakest. That kind of timing isn't coincidence. It's design. Industry veterans, people who've lived long enough to see empires rise and fall, say this feels like the final chapter of a story that started decades ago. They're calling it the reckoning no one saw coming. The kind of moment where everything hidden in the shadows begins crawling toward the light. One insider described it perfectly. It feels like the end of an era, not because someone exposed him, but because the people who once protected him stopped trying. That's what makes this moment so dangerous. Not the footage, not the documentary, but the silence from the people who once formed his shield. Silence from the collaborators. Silence from the insiders. Silence from the protectors. Silence that speaks louder than any interview ever could. Even Netflix's own staff, those who worked on the project, are refusing to comment. Editors, producers, assistants, they're all ghosts now. Gone offline. No statements, no explanations. The documentary ended, but the silence that followed feels like the calm after a controlled detonation. You can tell they knew exactly what they were releasing. You can tell they knew something the public is only beginning to understand. And here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. This clip doesn't just change Diddy's story, it changes the story of everyone who ever stood beside him. Because now old interviews look different. Old photos look different. Old statements feel heavier. Old denials feel rehearsed. The clip didn't expose a moment, it exposed an environment. A world where influence covered truth, where power shaped perception, where silence wasn't loyalty, it was currency. And that currency is worthless now. In the hours after the documentary dropped, people across the industry started preparing for impact. Not because they expected more footage, but because they expected more voices. People who never spoke before. People who were scared. People who were pushed aside. People who saw things but convinced themselves it wasn't their place to intervene. For years, the world made jokes about Diddy's reputation. For years, people repeated stories with nervous laughter. For years, allegations floated like smoke across the surface of the industry. But when the clip surfaced clean, quiet, unedited, it transformed smoke into fire. A fire that can't be ignored anymore. And the scariest part? Nobody knows who will speak next. Some insiders are already hinting at it. Anonymous posts, vague messages, cryptic emails saying things like, "There's more," or "people don't understand yet." Not confirmations, not denials, just hints. Just enough to keep the world watching. Enough to make everyone wonder who will come forward and what they've been holding on to. Meanwhile, the documentary's final chapter focuses not on Diddy, but on the environment that built him. The enablers, the witnesses, the people who benefited from his rise, the people who watched him fall, and the people who stood silently between both phases. Netflix didn't frame this as a takedown. They framed it as a pattern. A pattern that went unchallenged for years. A pattern reinforced by influence. A pattern protected by access. A pattern only shattered because one unseen clip made the world look again. That's the part viewers can't stop thinking about. Not the scandal, not the timeline, not the allegations, the pattern. Because patterns don't end with one person. Patterns end when the entire structure collapses. In the final moments of the documentary, there's a sense of closure but not comfort. No soft music, no hopeful message, no redemption arc. Just the understanding that people aren't waiting for courts anymore. They're not waiting for statements. They're not waiting for PR teams. They're waiting for truth, even if it comes from unexpected places. The clip changed everything, but the reactions are what turned that moment into history. Social media didn't just watch the documentary. It became the courtroom the real courtroom never was. People judged it. People debated it. People demanded answers for questions the justice system didn't even consider. That's the real impact of the Netflix drop. Not the revelation itself, but the realization that something this important could be hidden in the first place. So here's the question left behind once the credits roll. If one piece of evidence stayed buried for this long, what else is out there? The world may never get all the answers, but the world definitely won't stop looking. And if you've watched this entire breakdown until now, I want to ask you something directly. Do you believe this is the beginning of more truth coming out, or the final piece that exposes everything? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. I read every one of them. And before you go, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter in this story, because trust me, this isn't over. Not even close. The clip may have surfaced. The documentary may have ended, but the consequences, they're just beginning.